just been threatened by Lil King. Yeah, Lil King told me I better stay out him and their family business, or else he gonna stand on business. And I'm sitting here thinking, why this little yellow motherfucker keep making threats toward me? He ready to go to jail.
Rapper King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny Harris, arrested early Sunday morning in Gwinnett County following a traffic stop. Harris's choice of clothing, a Pikachu onesie, drawing significant attention.
Welcome back, gang. The person inside that Pikachu costume turned out to be Kane Harris himself. No joke at all. In the middle of an already chaotic situation, he was reportedly dressed head to toe like Pikachu, and that detail alone sent the internet into overdrive. Almost immediately, people everywhere started reacting. Social media lit up because the image was so unexpected that it became impossible to ignore. Now picture the scene. Lil Kane suddenly in the spotlight, dealing with an arrest while wearing one of the most recognizable cartoon outfits imaginable. It didn't take long for that visual to become the main thing everyone was talking about. Of course, Charleston White was never going to stay quiet about something like that. The second this story picked up steam, it gave him exactly what he needed to jump into the conversation. He wasted no time at all. Once he saw the moment gaining traction, he leaned all the way in and started adding fuel to the fire.
He documented the traffic stop on Instagram with a selfie. According to TMZ, officers say Harris was driving 60 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. And when they pulled him over, they say they spotted a firearm.
Instead of just commenting once and moving on, he took it a step further. He linked up with DJ Academics and brought back an older clip that many people had either forgotten about or hadn't seen in a while. In that video, he had already been speaking strongly about Kane and T.I., and now he decided to revive that whole exchange like it had never disappeared in the first place. That old footage suddenly became relevant again. Charleston White reportedly went back to that moment involving T.I., Tip, and Kane, then reposted it to put everything back in front of the public. It wasn't subtle. It looked very intentional, almost like he knew exactly what kind of reaction it would create once people saw it again. Sure enough, it worked. That clip started circulating all over social media at a rapid pace. Once it resurfaced, people began sharing it, reacting to it, and tying it back to the latest situation. What had already been getting attention quickly turned into an even bigger online discussion, with more eyes suddenly locked onto the story. Before we go any further, take a second to like the video, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. This situation keeps getting more complicated, and every new development seems to bring even more attention than the last. Now let's talk about what Charleston White actually posted on Instagram about Lil Kane, because it definitely wasn't quiet, and it definitely wasn't gentle. If you know anything about how he moves online, you already understand that subtlety usually isn't part of the plan. When Charleston White decides to say something, he tends to make sure people notice it. That's exactly why his response mattered so much here. The arrest was already drawing attention. The Pikachu outfit made it even more bizarre. Then Charleston White stepped in and amplified the story by reminding everyone of previous tension and older remarks connected to the same names. Suddenly, this wasn't just about one strange headline anymore. It became a full-blown online spectacle.
Little young fuck got a big mouth with some pink lips. Yeah, he got some highly unusual white woman shaped pink, but he got a big mouth like the front of a platypus.
What made this stand out even more was the timing. The moment people were already trying to process the visual of Kane Harris in that costume, Charleston White reintroduced past commentary and gave the audience even more to debate. That combination turned a surprising moment into a trending conversation.
At that point, it wasn't only about what happened. It was also about how the internet responded, how old clips got revived, and how quickly public attention shifted from confusion to non-stop commentary. One unusual image opened the door, and then the reposted footage pushed the whole thing even further into the spotlight. So once Charleston White entered the mix, the story changed completely. What might have stayed as a strange arrest detail turned into something much bigger because he knew exactly how to keep the momentum going. By bringing up DJ Academics, resurfacing that older clip, and dragging previous tension back into view, He gave people a whole new angle to focus on. And that's where things really started getting messy. Whenever Charleston White slips into full troll mode, the tone changes instantly. He leans into sarcasm, twists people's names into punchlines, and keeps the bit going far longer than necessary just to spark a reaction.
I'm sorry when they mile, because you go buck their teeth out like that boy. That's why the boy mile so goddamn big. I've been trying to figure out all this time why that boy mile so big. Yeah, all the mother kids got regular miles. All the mother kids got regular size miles. And they got a regular size. That's what makes the boy look so funny. That big mile.
King and T.I. seem to bring that side out of him especially fast. Once he locks in on a target, he knows exactly how to keep the attention on himself while making the situation even louder. Now add this image to the story. The person inside that Pikachu onesie was actually Kane Harris. No exaggeration, no internet myth, no made-up rumor. It was really him. Seeing him in that bright yellow costume while the situation around him started taking a serious turn made the whole thing feel surreal. It looked so bizarre that people almost didn't know how to process it at first.
Before long, the moment became even stranger. Lil Kane was reportedly arrested while still wearing the Pikachu outfit. That detail alone sent the internet into a frenzy. Some people were stunned, others were amused, and plenty were just trying to figure out whether what they were seeing was real. It was the kind of visual that spreads instantly because it's so unusual that people can't stop talking about it. Once his name started circulating, the attention snowballed. Conversations picked up everywhere, reactions started pouring in, and the clip became one of those moments that people kept reposting from every angle. As soon as that happened, it felt almost inevitable that Charleston White would insert himself into it. He rarely misses a chance to amplify a viral situation, especially when already tied to people he's spoken on before.
Should I tell my son, you don't say nothing to the grown person, nigga, you a kid. You call me. And you let me address the adult, but you don't say nothing. You a kid, son. So you stay in the kid's place.
Sure enough, Charleston didn't hesitate. The second he saw the story catching momentum, he moved quickly and did what he often does best. He reached back into the past and revived old footage to stir everything up again. Instead of treating it like old news, he dragged a previous clip right back into public view and made it feel fresh all over again. That video wasn't pulled at random either. There was history attached to it. Charleston had already gone at Kane and T.I. before, so reposting it wasn't just trolling for the sake of trolling. In his mind, it fit into an ongoing back and forth that had already been building. Bringing that footage back was his way of reminding everyone that this wasn't a new issue to him. He had already been speaking on it. To make sure it reached the biggest audience possible, he took it to DJ Academic's platform. That move gave the clip a whole new life. Suddenly, people who may have missed the original moment were now seeing it framed like a major callback in a much bigger online feud. Charleston understood exactly what he was doing by putting it there. He knew the clip would get replayed, discussed, and broken down again. More importantly, the timing was perfect for maximum reaction. The internet was already focused on Lil Kane because of the arrest and the now infamous Pikachu suit. Reintroducing older footage in the middle of that buzz only added another layer to the story. It made everything feel connected, even more dramatic, and impossible for people to ignore. What really fueled the moment was the contrast. On one side, you had this almost unbelievable image of someone in a cartoon costume at the center of a serious situation. On the other, you had Charleston White using that exact moment to reopen old tension and put familiar names back into the conversation.
Harris reportedly refused to get out of the car. Police say they then found a THC vape pen on him. On Instagram, Harris posted video in the outfit comparing police to Team Rocket, writing in part that he was living a good Pikachu life in Tokyo and then came back to ATL, and Team Rocket caught me with a master ball and threw me in jail all night.
That combination created the kind of online storm that people love to react to. Nothing about Charleston's approach was subtle. He saw a trending moment, recognized the built-in history, and pushed it back into the spotlight with intention. Rather than letting the story move on by itself,
He added his own layer of commentary by resurfacing a clip tied to prior friction with Kane and T.I. That made it feel less like random internet noise and more like another chapter in a feud that had never really cooled off. By the time people saw that old footage making the rounds again, the message was clear. Charleston White had no plans to sit quietly while the internet talked. If anything, he was determined to make the moment even louder. And because there was already tension behind the clip, it landed with more weight than a simple repost ever could. It reminded viewers that this drama didn't start with the Pikachu outfit. The outfit just gave the whole story a new spark at exactly the right time. With everything that had already happened involving Kane and T.I., this latest development made the tension feel even stronger. Charleston clearly understood the timing, and he chose that moment to stir the pot all over again. What happened next made that even more obvious. Instead of letting the old situation stay buried, he pulled the clip back out and shared it again, almost like he wanted to throw fresh attention onto a story that was already getting people talking. It didn't come across as accidental or casual. Every move felt deliberate. By reposting that footage, he reopened the same friction tied to T.I. and Kane and pushed it right back into the public conversation. Suddenly, people were revisiting that earlier moment with a whole new level of interest. The tension that had once started to cool off was right in front of everyone again, louder than before.
Why you go in on that boy like that, his son?
Cause I think his son ugly, and I think he's unruly, misbehaved, little yellow little boy.
You don't like high yellow people? You jealous of high yellow people in their skin color?
I ain't jealous of them. High yellow never been able to dunk from the free throw line.
Reactions came fast. Viewers began arguing in the comments, choosing sides, and digging up past issues that many people had already moved on from. That's part of Charleston White's pattern. He has a way of taking one incident and keeping it alive far longer than expected. A topic that might have faded out quickly somehow turns into another round of debate once he gets involved.
His approach is rarely subtle. He knows how to take a single moment, add his own spin, and keep attention locked on it. The more he talks, the more people respond. And that response keeps the situation circulating. What might have been a brief flare-up becomes a much bigger conversation simply because of how he presents it. Kane and T.I. seem to be regular subjects whenever Charleston decides to speak. No matter what else is happening, he always appears ready with another comment, another reminder, or another way to pull old tension back into the spotlight. That history is a big reason this repost landed the way it did. Now that Kane's current situation is gaining even more attention, Charleston has an even bigger opening to keep talking. For someone like him, moments like this create the perfect setup. An audience already watching, emotions already high, and a past conflict ready to be revived. Once he stepped back in, it was almost guaranteed that people would react. He moved as if the moment had been custom made for him, like every piece had fallen into place, and all he had to do was walk in and turn the temperature up. Once he locks into that energy, things rarely settle down quickly. Instead, the tension usually keeps building, and that is exactly what made the whole situation feel even more unpredictable. At the same time, a lot of attention was shifting toward Lil Kane. People were not just casually curious, they were waiting for his first words after getting out. There was already so much noise surrounding the situation that anything he said was bound to grab attention. The suspense kept growing because everyone wanted to know whether he would clear things up, respond directly, or make the story even bigger.
And another thing, I'm a free man. Stop, goddamn, I'm not locked up. I'm straight. I was, but I'm back.
When he finally did speak, the reaction was immediate.
Lil Kane said that while he was locked up, he drank toilet water. That one comment instantly sent the conversation into another lane. Viewers online froze on that line because nobody seemed to know how to take it. Some listeners wondered if he was being completely serious. Others assumed he was trying to stun people on purpose and push the moment further into the spotlight. Either way, the result was the same. The internet lit up. Suddenly, that single statement became its own headline. People were clipping it, reposting it, debating it, and trying to figure out what he meant. Instead of calming the situation, it poured even more fuel on an already messy story. What had already been getting plenty of attention somehow became even more chaotic. You could practically watch the situation unravel in real time. First, there was the onesie.
After that came the arrest. Then came this unexpected claim, which only added another layer of confusion and controversy. Every new development seemed to top the one before it, making the whole thing feel less like a normal update and more like a chain reaction that would not stop. Once he was released, it felt like the story refused to slow down. Every time it seemed like things might level out, another moment pulled everyone right back in. That is what made this stand out so much. It wasn't just one incident people were reacting to. It was the constant escalation. One surprise led straight into another, and each update gave people something new to argue over. What really kept people hooked was how unpredictable it all felt. Nothing about the timeline came across as ordinary. Just when the attention started centering on one detail, a new twist would take over the conversation. That is why the response online was so intense. People were not only following the story, they were trying to keep up with how fast it was changing.
By the time that statement started circulating everywhere, the whole situation had taken on a life of its own. Reactions came from every direction. Some people treated it like a serious claim. Others looked at it as another example of someone saying the most shocking thing possible to keep attention locked in. No matter which side they were on, everybody had something to say. That is how moments like this grow far beyond the original situation. A single comment can completely shift the focus and create a brand new wave of discussion. In this case, that is exactly what happened. The conversation stopped being only about what had already occurred and turned into a much bigger spectacle driven by confusion, speculation, and non-stop reactions.
There's better ways, nigga, to express your childhood trauma than taking it out on your parents. Now I'm gonna tell you like I tell them little kids in the boys' home, at the alternative schools, and them adolescent centers, okay? Whatever has happened to you in your life is not your fault.
From the outside, it looked like the momentum just kept snowballing. One moment fed the next, and the more people talked, the more the story spread. Between the earlier drama, the arrest, and then that unbelievable statement after release, there was never really a chance for things to cool off. If anything, each chapter made the last one seem smaller. That is why so many people stayed locked in. The story did not move in a straight line. It kept swerving, and every turn made the situation feel more intense than before. By the end of it, which started as one controversy, had become a full-blown online storm, with Lil Kane right at the center of it, and the internet reacting to every word. Every time it looked like the drama might finally cool off, a fresh twist sent it right back to the top. The situation just refused to settle. One moment it seemed like things were fading, and the next, the conversation was louder than ever.
Meanwhile, Charleston White was clearly aware of everything happening in real time, and that alone had people paying even closer attention. The second his name entered the discussion, the energy shifted. Viewers started asking the same thing over and over. Was he about to step in again and respond? Because if there's one thing people have learned, it's that Charleston rarely lets a viral moment pass without saying something about it. Before long, that question spread everywhere. What was Charleston White going to do next? Social media was filled with speculation, and the suspense only kept building. At that stage, it didn't seem like a matter of if he would react. It felt more like he was waiting for the exact right opening to come back and make even more noise. In comment sections, people were already predicting the next move. A lot of them were convinced he was preparing to go live at any moment and spend the entire stream going in on Lil Kane. That idea didn't sound far-fetched either, especially to anyone who has watched Charleston before. His style is never quiet, measured, or halfway. Once he starts speaking on a situation, he usually keeps the pressure on from beginning to end. There's a reason so many people were expecting that exact outcome. Charleston has built a reputation around stepping into heated moments and turning the temperature up even more. Controversy draws attention, and attention tends to bring him straight into the middle of it. When a topic is already trending, that only seems to make it more likely that he'll add his perspective and make sure people keep talking.
That's why this moment felt so tense online. Lil Kane was already getting a huge amount of attention for everything surrounding the situation, and with the spotlight already locked in, it almost seemed inevitable that Charleston would want in too. To a lot of people watching, it felt like the setup was already there. All that was missing was the moment he decided to jump. As the anticipation grew, the audience became part of the spectacle. People weren't just talking about what had happened, they were actively waiting for the next reaction, refreshing their feeds, checking for updates, and watching to see whether Charleston would suddenly go live.
You didn't ask to be born. You didn't ask to come here. You was born into a situation and circumstances and an environment that most kids dream about, motherfucker. You wasn't born into some horrible conditions. You wasn't created into no treacherous circumstances. You wasn't raised into no motherfucking survivalistic environment, nigga.
There was this sense that everyone knew something was coming, even if no one knew exactly when. That kind of suspense kept the whole situation alive. The longer he stayed silent, the more curiosity grew. Each minute without a response only made people more convinced that he was planning something bigger. And because of the way he usually handles public drama, viewers expected that if he did speak up, it wouldn't be subtle. They were bracing for a loud, direct, and unforgettable response. At that point, the internet wasn't just following the story anymore. It was waiting for Charleston White to become part of it again. All eyes were on that live button, with people wondering whether the next update would be the one that changed the entire conversation all over again. One thing Charleston always understands is how to take a moment and turn it into a spectacle. The second he gets near any kind of tension, attention follows. People don't just notice it, they lock in and wait for the next move. That's exactly what started happening here. Once his name got pulled into the conversation, the focus shifted fast, and suddenly everyone was watching to see whether he was about to go all the way and address everything tied to Kane.
At the same time, another question started spreading just as quickly. People weren't only watching Charleston. Plenty of eyes moved toward T.I. too, because naturally they wanted to know if he would say something, respond, or somehow involve himself in the situation. Still, if you followed the way he handles public drama, his approach wasn't exactly hard to read. He stayed completely out of it. There was no statement, no reaction, and no sign that he wanted to add fuel to what was already building. While others kept talking, T.I. remained silent. That decision didn't go unnoticed either. In fact, the silence became part of the story. The longer he said nothing, the more people started discussing what that meant. Some expected him to stand beside Kane in some way. Others thought maybe he would at least offer a quick comment just to acknowledge what was happening. None of that came. Instead, he seemed to make a clear choice to remain on the sidelines and let the situation unfold without stepping into the middle of it. For some people, that looked intentional. For others, it only made the entire thing feel even more loaded, because when someone expected to speak decides not to, the silence can create just as much conversation as a response would have, adding even more mystery to the moment. Joe Charleston White had also been spotted with Boosie not long before all of this. That detail gave the situation another layer and made everything feel far less predictable. Once those names start getting linked together, the energy changes. What might have seemed like a simple moment suddenly starts feeling much bigger, almost like it could shift in any direction at any time. That's what had people so locked in. It wasn't just one person, one reaction, or one headline. It was the combination of personalities, the timing, and the fact that nobody really knew who might speak next or who might keep staying quiet. Charleston brought the kind of attention that makes people stop scrolling. T.I.'s silence gave people even more to debate. Boosie's recent connection to Charleston added another twist. Put all of that together, and the whole thing started to carry an unpredictable edge. At that point, viewers weren't just following updates. They were reading into every move, every lack of a move, and every possible connection. A small detail could suddenly feel important. A quiet response could be treated like a major statement. That's how quickly the atmosphere shifted. Once all these names were circulating in the same space, it created the sense that anything might happen next, and that uncertainty is exactly what kept people watching. What really had people on edge was the combination of everything happening at once. If Charleston was already out, active, and moving the way people were seeing, while Kane's situation was still unresolved and drawing attention, it created the sense that things could shift fast. Under those conditions, it didn't seem like much would be needed for the tension to rise again. With so many eyes locked in, the atmosphere felt unpredictable, like the next development could surface at any moment and catch everyone off guard. Online, the reaction was relentless. Social media users weren't overlooking a single detail. Every clip, every image, and every comment was being replayed, dissected, and turned into conversation, like it was the only story anyone cared about. Nothing stayed small for long. Once one detail appeared, it was instantly pulled apart from every angle and pushed back into the spotlight.
One of the biggest talking points was that Pikachu onesie. What might have been just a strange visual quickly became something much larger on the internet. People transformed it into memes, punchlines, reaction posts, and running jokes that spread everywhere.
I've just been threatened by Lil King. Yeah, Lil King told me I better stay out of him and their family business, or else he gonna stand on business. And I'm sitting here thinking, why this little yellow motherfucker keep making threats toward me? He ready to go to jail.
Before long, it stopped being just clothing and started representing the entire situation in the minds of viewers. That image became the thing people instantly connected to everything that had happened. Meanwhile, another wave of attention centered on what Kane said after getting released. In particular, people kept circling back to his remark about drinking toilet water. That single line sparked a storm of reactions all at once. Some treated it like something unbelievable. Others responded with jokes. Plenty of people questioned what to make of it at all. No matter the reaction, it kept the conversation going and added another layer to an already chaotic story. That's what made the whole thing feel so intense. It wasn't one isolated moment driving the attention. Several different pieces were hitting the public at the same time. First came the outfit, then the arrest. After that, the comments following the release added even more fuel to the discussion. Each part kept piling on to the last, making the story feel bigger with every update. Instead of fading out, the situation seemed to grow heavier as more people joined the conversation. Every new detail gave the internet something else to latch onto, and each angle pushed the narrative further. What started as one headline had now become a chain reaction, with every moment adding more pressure and more curiosity about what could happen next.
As the chatter kept getting louder, viewers stayed locked in, waiting for the next voice to step forward and reveal what would come next. There was a strong sense that this story hadn't reached its final chapter yet. Instead of slowing down, the momentum kept rising, and that made every new post feel more important than the last. What made the moment especially wild was the speed. Something would appear online as a single clip, and almost immediately it would spread far beyond that original post. Before long, it was showing up everywhere people scrolled. Blogs picked it up, social media pages reposted it, comment sections filled up fast. Suddenly, everyone had something to say. All at once, one detail kept standing out more than anything else: the Pikachu outfit. It showed up over and over across timelines, grabbing attention every single time it resurfaced. Some people found it funny right away. Others were more puzzled than anything, trying to figure out what they were even looking at. Either way, almost no one just passed by without reacting. It became the kind of image that instantly stops people mid-scroll. Once Charleston White entered the conversation, the situation took on a completely different weight. By reposting older moments and pulling past issues back into public view, he shifted the focus. Now the discussion wasn't limited to one recent event. Attention started moving backward toward everything that may have built up before this point. That change is what made the whole thing feel much larger. What first looked like a single moment began turning into something broader, with people trying to piece together a longer timeline. Viewers started digging up older clips, revisiting previous comments, and lining up past statements next to current reactions. Instead of treating it like a quick viral moment, people began examining the bigger picture.
Soon, it wasn't just about one clip or one appearance anymore. It became a running review of the history tied to these names. Every repost added another layer. Every older video brought fresh discussion. Each comment section turned into its own investigation, with people comparing details and trying to make sense of how everything connected. Because all of this was unfolding at the same time, the atmosphere kept getting more intense. The conversation didn't fade out the way viral moments often do. It kept expanding. New reactions fed old ones, and old content started feeling relevant again. That gave the entire story a sense of movement, like it was still developing right in front of everyone. More than anything, that real-time growth is what held people's attention. Audiences weren't just reacting to what had already happened. They were watching the narrative evolve moment by moment, post by post, as more context and more opinions kept pouring in. Every update seemed to raise new questions instead of answering the old ones. By that point,
the story had moved beyond a simple online reaction. It had turned into a much bigger conversation, shaped by resurfaced footage, past tension, and non-stop public commentary. The longer it stayed active, the more people felt there was still another twist waiting around the corner. That's why the energy never really settled. It kept building, and the entire situation started to feel like one of those internet moments that gets bigger every hour. Each new upload only intensified the spotlight. Instead of dying down, the situation kept growing, pulling in more attention from people who were watching closely to see where it would go next.
Son smart. I ain't make no autistic baby like King that needs special care and services. My boy gonna take over the throne. King can't take over the throne. The more they is, see, these wet out of wedlock babies.
Momentum was building fast. As the hours passed, fresh comments, reposts, and reactions kept pouring in, making sure the topic stayed active across every timeline. There was no real pause in it. The conversation kept moving, and every update seemed to give people another reason to keep talking. A lot of the focus stayed on Kane. Viewers kept revisiting his side, picking apart his words and trying to understand what he truly intended and how far he was willing to take it. People weren't just listening to what he said on the surface. They were studying the tone, the timing, and the meaning behind it, looking for any clue that could explain the bigger picture. One quote in particular refused to disappear. The drunk toilet water remark kept resurfacing again and again, almost becoming the line that defined the entire exchange. No matter how many new angles appeared, that phrase stayed in circulation, repeatedly dragged back into the center of the discussion. It became one of those moments the internet refuses to let go of. At the same time, plenty of eyes were fixed on Charleston White. A lot of people weren't just watching the situation itself, they were waiting on his response. He has a reputation for stepping into moments like this, especially once the attention reaches a certain level. When a story starts drawing this much traffic, he often knows exactly how to insert himself and make the conversation even louder. That's what made the atmosphere online feel so charged. There was this growing sense that another major development was on the way. Everybody could feel it building, yet nobody knew when it would land. That uncertainty made the whole thing even more gripping. It had the kind of unpredictable energy that keeps people refreshing their feeds because the next post could shift everything in an instant.
Older clips were still making the rounds. New reactions were stacking up by the minute. Commentary channels, repost pages, and regular users all kept adding their own take, which only made the story spread further. Instead of fading, it kept expanding, with each new piece of content adding another layer to the narrative. What really stood out was how quickly it transformed from a simple back and forth into something much bigger. Once people started revisiting past footage and comparing it with current comments, the discussion took on a life of its own. Every detail was being examined. Every phrase was being reinterpreted. Even small moments were suddenly treated like major clues. That kind of cycle is what keeps a story alive online. One person posts a reaction, someone else clips it, another page reposts it, and before long, the conversation is moving in 10 different directions at once. In this case, that exact pattern was happening in real time. Nothing had a chance to settle because there was always another response, another theory, another clip gaining traction. By then, it was obvious this wasn't close to wrapping up. Too many people were invested, too many posts were still circulating, and too much attention was centered on what either side might do next. The weight of the story kept increasing with every added piece, and the longer it continued, the more it felt like the internet was bracing for another twist. Rather than reaching a stopping point, the situation seemed to feed itself. The attention created more reactions, and those reactions created even more attention. That loop kept the pressure high and the audience locked in. At that stage, it no longer felt like a passing moment. It felt like an ongoing story that was still unfolding in front of everyone, with no clear ending in sight.
This story was never going to fade into the background overnight. Before long, it had become the kind of online storm that seemed impossible to ignore. What started as a single situation quickly grew into a constant topic of discussion, with opinions flying in from every direction. This wasn't limited to loyal supporters anymore. Suddenly, everyone was weighing in, and nearly every person watching had something to say. Plenty of voices turned their attention toward Kane, with some criticizing his actions, while others stepped up to defend him. At the same time, there were countless people who weren't necessarily taking a side at all. They were simply glued to the drama, watching each new update like the next episode in a series they couldn't stop following. That combination of support, criticism, and curiosity made the entire situation feel even bigger. The more people talked, the more intense the atmosphere became. Charleston White remained a major part of the conversation the entire time. Even when there wasn't a fresh statement from him, his name kept resurfacing.
I don't have no gang. I ain't in no gang. I got family. I got motherfuckers who willing to risk their lives and freedom to die by me and mine. You hear me? Well, don't fucking play with me, man. Don't fucking play with my motherfucking child, nigga. Ever, nigga.
Earlier posts in that older clip continued circulating, pulling him right back into the spotlight again and again. His presence never really left the discussion because people kept bringing up what had already been said and treating it like it was still unfolding in real time. As the days went on, the internet did what it always does during a public dispute. It split into camps. One side stood firmly with Kane, another lined up behind Charleston. A third group seemed less interested in loyalty and more focused on reacting to whatever new piece of information appeared next. With each passing moment, the situation moved further away from being a brief incident. It transformed into a full-scale online back and forth, where every post seemed to invite another response.
Nothing stayed small for long. A single comment could spark a chain reaction. One repost could send the topic right back to the top of everyone's feed. Every reaction video, screenshot, and opinion thread added more fuel, making sure the story stayed front and center. Instead of cooling off, the conversation kept expanding, pulled forward by the endless cycle of people responding to people responding to people. Soon, the attention shifted beyond the obvious headlines. Viewers began examining every little detail with unusual intensity. Tiny moments that normally would have passed unnoticed were suddenly being replayed, dissected, and discussed. No part of the situation was considered too minor to matter. If there was a clip, people studied it. If there was a comment, they analyzed the wording. If a new reaction appeared, it was immediately folded into the bigger narrative. That's when the situation really took on a life of its own. It wasn't only about what had happened in the first place. The conversation itself became the story. People weren't only reacting to the original issue anymore, they were reacting to each other's reactions, building layer after layer of commentary on top of what was already there. That made everything feel louder, faster, and much harder to escape. What made it especially intense was how quickly the online audience turned into investigators, critics, and commentators all at once. Everybody seemed to be searching for some hidden clue, some overlooked detail, or some small moment that might shift the narrative. The result was a cycle where every update, no matter how small, felt like it carried weight. Nothing disappeared. Nothing got ignored. Everything became part of the larger online tug-of-war.
By that stage, the moment had fully evolved into something much bigger than a simple disagreement. It had become a running digital showdown, fueled by constant engagement and non-stop speculation. Every new post kept it alive. Every fresh opinion stretched it further. Every clip that resurfaced gave people another reason to dive back in. And with all that attention focused so closely, the public started noticing things they might never have cared about otherwise. The smallest fragments suddenly mattered. The tiniest details became talking points. Once that happens online, the story usually stops belonging to the people involved and starts belonging to the crowd. Here, that's exactly what seemed to happen. The internet took hold of the moment and refused to let it go. Every word Kane said was being picked apart. Nothing about his return seemed casual to the internet. His tone, his body language, even the smallest details in the way he answered questions had people studying him like there was a hidden message buried underneath it all. One remark in particular kept circulating everywhere. The comment about drinking toilet water. People replayed it again and again, treating it like a clue instead of just a statement. Online discussions kept growing, with viewers trying to decode what he meant, what it suggested, and whether there was more behind it than he was willing to say out loud. At the same time, not everyone believed the reaction matched the moment. Plenty of people felt the whole thing was being stretched far beyond what it actually was. In their view, the internet had turned a single comment into a full-blown spectacle. Still, that pushback didn't slow anything down. If anything, the attempts to calm the situation only gave it more energy. The more people argued that it was overblown, the louder the conversation became. Meanwhile, Charleston White's presence still hung over everything. Even without constant new remarks from him, he didn't need to keep stepping in for people to connect his name to the situation. What he had already done was enough to make him part of every discussion. Because of that, the story never felt like it belonged to Kane alone. Charleston White remained in the background of it all, and that connection kept adding even more tension to an already intense situation. As a result, the whole thing started to feel bigger than just a trending topic. It felt like a moment people were actively monitoring in real time. Every update drew attention. Every clip sparked fresh theories. Every small development had audiences rushing in, trying to catch the next angle before anyone else. There was a sense that something else might happen at any minute, and that expectation kept everyone locked in. Before long, the conversation began moving in a different direction. Instead of only debating what had already happened, people started focusing on what this could mean for Kane from here on out. That's usually what happens when a situation reaches this level of visibility. Once that spotlight gets this bright, it rarely fades quickly. The attention doesn't vanish in a day, and the questions don't just go away on their own. That's why opinions started splitting even more. One side felt Kane needed to address everything directly. To them, silence would only leave room for more rumors, more assumptions, and more people filling in the blanks for themselves. They believed the fastest way to take control of the narrative was to speak clearly and shut down the speculation.
Another group saw it completely differently. Their view was that responding too much could make the story last even longer. According to them, the smartest move was to say less, step back, and let the noise burn itself out. In their eyes, the internet moves fast, and giving the moment more attention might only keep it alive. That difference in opinion became part of the story too. It wasn't just about what Kane had said anymore. Now people were debating strategy, image, damage control, and what comes next when a person suddenly becomes the center of nonstop public attention. For Kane, that meant every choice from this point forward could be watched just as closely as the original moment. Whether he explained himself or stayed quiet, people were going to interpret it. If he spoke, they would analyze the wording. If he said nothing, they would analyze the silence. Either way, the spotlight wasn't going anywhere yet, and that's what made the situation feel so charged. It had already moved past a single viral moment and turned into something larger, something people believed might lead to another twist at any time. So the audience kept watching, waiting, and refreshing for the next development, convinced that the story still wasn't over. No matter which side people leaned toward, one point seemed undeniable. All eyes had shifted directly onto him. Once that kind of attention lands, the pressure changes instantly. Suddenly, nothing slips by unnoticed. Every appearance, every comment, every reaction gets picked apart in real time, turned into conversation, and pushed across the internet within minutes.
At the same time, Charleston White's history made a lot of viewers think this story wasn't finished yet. He has built a reputation for re-entering the conversation right when tensions start rising again. And in this case, the energy around it never really cooled off. Because of that, people stayed tuned in. They weren't just casually checking headlines anymore. They were actively following both sides, waiting for the next post, the next statement, or the next move that might shift the entire situation in a different direction. By this point, the story had clearly grown beyond a single incident. What kept people invested was the way every piece seemed to connect to another. It wasn't just one event holding attention anymore. It was the combination of everything happening at once that made the situation feel bigger with each passing day. First, there was the arrest, which immediately set the tone and brought a wave of attention. After that came the outfit, which sparked its own separate round of conversation and added another layer to the public reaction. Then there was the statement made after release, giving people fresh material to analyze and debate. On top of all that, older clips started making their way back across social media, pulling past moments into the current discussion and making everything feel even more intense. Each new element changed the way people viewed the story. One part raised questions. Another part gave people something to compare. A different piece added context, or at least gave the impression that there was more behind the scenes than what had first appeared.
As all of it stacked together, the entire situation started to feel less like one headline and more like a complicated chain of moments that people were determined to sort through.
That's why so many kept going back over the timeline. Viewers weren't only reacting to what was happening in the moment, they were retracing events, lining up clips, comments, and reactions, trying to figure out how every detail fit with the next. The more they revisited it, the more discussion it created. Instead of slowing down, the attention kept feeding itself. Even those who wanted no part in the drama had a hard time avoiding it. It kept showing up again and again, whether through reposted clips, reaction videos, or people breaking down the situation from every possible angle.
I'm still on business. I don't give a fuck who it is. I'm still on business. I'm just pacifying you, man, after 12. Then we know it too. Yeah, written by Lil King. Yeah, Lil King told me I better stay out of him and their family business.
At that stage, ignoring it almost became impossible. The story had reached that point where it was no longer confined to one moment or one platform. It had turned into an ongoing conversation, and every revisit only pushed it further. What made it so gripping was that each part seemed to offer a different version of the bigger picture. One detail might not have seemed overwhelming on its own. Put together, though, the entire situation started to feel much more significant. That buildup is what kept people watching. Everyone wanted to know whether the next development would clear things up, make the situation messier, or reopen questions people thought had already been answered. So the focus remained locked on what would happen next. With the spotlight growing brighter and the public already dissecting every layer, there was no sense that the conversation was about to fade. If anything, it felt like the story was still building, with the next chapter waiting just around the corner.
The momentum didn't fade. If anything, it kept getting stronger. No matter how much time passed, the clips continued circulating. The conversation kept resurfacing, and attention never really left the story. What started as something that could have easily disappeared after a brief spike instead stayed front and center. Viewers weren't ready to let it go, and that made all the difference. At first, it may have looked like just another internet moment, the kind that burns bright for a day and then vanishes. Instead, it grew into something much bigger. Interest stayed high, reactions kept piling up, and the situation developed into an ongoing spectacle that people continued following in real time. Once that kind of energy takes over, it becomes almost impossible to slow it down. What this really showed was how quickly an ordinary situation can spiral into something massive. One small spark led to another, and before long, the entire thing had turned into a chain reaction. Suddenly, it wasn't limited to one moment or one clip. More people joined the conversation, more opinions started flying, and the entire story expanded far beyond where it began. That's how these situations take on a life of their own. Kane ended up squarely in the middle of all of it. Every detail connected to him became part of the conversation. People kept bringing up the Pikachu outfit, replaying his statements, and examining everything tied to his name from every possible angle. Once the spotlight locks in that hard, stepping away isn't easy. Even if the original moment passes, the attention can keep following long after.
Charleston White added another layer to the situation as well. By pulling older moments back into the discussion, he helped keep the subject active at a time when it might have started cooling off. That decision gave the story fresh energy. It made sure people stayed tuned in. Instead of fading into the background, the situation stayed alive because there was always something else for people to react to, revisit, or debate. That's what pushed this beyond a simple viral flash. It stopped being just a trending moment and became a full narrative. New clips, new takes, and non-stop reactions kept extending the lifespan of the story. Every time it seemed like things might finally settle, another wave of discussion pulled everything back into focus. The more people talked, the more the story grew. The more it grew, the harder it became to escape. What made it even more intense was how many different angles people found. Some focused on Kane himself, others fixated on the outfit. Plenty of viewers zeroed in on the words that were said and what they meant. Meanwhile, older footage and previous moments got folded back into the conversation, making the whole thing feel even bigger than it was at the start. That's when a single incident stops being just an incident and turns into something people treat like an unfolding drama. By that point, it wasn't really about one isolated event anymore.
It had become a larger online story that kept moving, shifting, and collecting more attention as it went. Everybody seemed to have an opinion. Everybody had a reaction. Everybody wanted to add something. That constant stream of commentary made it feel like the situation was everywhere at once, with no clear off switch.
Eventually, everything lands where it's going to land. The noise slows down, the reactions spread out, and the story finds its place. Still, one thing stands out above everything else. Once the internet decides to stay locked in, a moment can stretch far beyond what anyone expected. What seemed temporary became lasting. What looked small became huge. And what could have passed quickly turned into a story people kept watching long after it should have been over. People will be talking about this moment for years because of how unbelievably chaotic it felt from start to finish. Nothing about it seemed predictable, and every new twist made the whole situation even more intense. It unfolded at such a relentless pace that there was barely a second to catch a breath, which is exactly why it left such a lasting impression.